to your morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Thank you for inviting me. Very excited. Special treat to come here. I've been here for many, many years. I remember. I'm very happy to be here. And so we'll read from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 1, text. I just check. I think it's text 4. Let's just In the meantime, we chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, so read from chapter 1, the Advent of Lord Krishna, introduction, and we're reading text 4. Do we repeat, or I just read, or?
You can do the Sanskrit yourself, Prabhu, and then we can do the word for word in English if you wish in the translation. That word
Together, yeah? Okay.
Not the Sanskrit, but the English. Yeah.
Nivrittita se upikiyamana pavosadat chachramano bhibrama kadottama shloka punanavatat pumamburicheta vina pushognat. This verse, for your interest, happens to be comes in the introduction. Prabhupada quotes it right at the beginning of his Krishna book. Okay. So word for word and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nivritta, released from. Dasa, lust or material activities. Excuse me, change my eyes. Upagya, manat, which is described or sung. Bhava Ashodat, which is the right medicine for the material disease. Prodra, the process of oral reception. Manohara, the subject matter of thought for the mind. Abhiramat, from the pleasing vibrations, from such glorification. Kaha, who? Uttama Sloka, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Puna Anuvadat, from describing such activities. Oman, a person. Virajeta, can keep himself aloof. Vina, except. Pasho Agnat, either a butcher or one who is killing his own personal existence. Translation. We do it together, yeah? Please repeat. Glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the Parampara system. That is, it is conveyed from spiritual master to disciple. Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in the false temporary glorification of this cosmic manifestation. The descriptions of the Lord are the right medicine for the conditioned soul undergoing repeated birth and death. Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord, except a butcher or one who is killing his own self? And it's quite a lengthy purport by Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, that's 4 or 5 pages. So perhaps what we'll do is that's okay. Read it through the purple and we can discuss and explain and see if we get through the whole purple or not. Okay. So what time?
Going back to 9:30.
9:30. Okay. See, so
That includes questions and answers.
yeah. Okay. Okay. Om Ganatimarandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshunlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So Prabhupada's purple. In India, it is the practice among the general populace to hear about Krishna, either from Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam, in order to gain relief from the disease of repeated birth and death. Is that like that in Folkestone? Is it like that anywhere else in the world? No. Prabhupada then says, although India is now fallen.
Still better than anywhere else.
Huh?
Still better than anywhere
Yeah.
else.
So, although India is now fallen, when there is a message that someone will speak about Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam, thousands of people still gather to hear. You know. This verse indicates, however, that such recitation of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam must be done by persons completely free from material desires. Nivrittata se. Everyone within the material world, beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, is full of material desires for sense and enjoyment. And everyone is busy in sense gratification. But when thus engaged, one cannot fully understand the value of Krishna Katha, either in the form of Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. So it helps. Yeah. So we have to do some homework, so to speak. So the more we can lead a pure life, of course, we're not expecting ourselves to be completely pure. We are, we're in this material world. But to show you experience, isn't it? The more we live a healthy, could say spiritual, pure lifestyle, then the more we're going to be attracted. And that's why you're here now. That's why you're online and here now, because you're engaged in the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness. So there's a natural attraction for hearing about Krishna. Whereas people in general, they don't have, we have to try very hard to convince them to hear. Try very hard to convince them to take a book. Try very hard to convince them that spiritual life is the goal of their existence. Yeah. So Prabhupada gave us the regulative principles, which we follow as much as we can, but eventually we want to come to that stage. And then the idea is that the hearing becomes, we become naturally attracted to that hearing. We start to get a taste of it. Prabhupada would describe that. When people get in some type of, as you mentioned this morning, you get drunks come out, or whatever from the clubs. We have the same in London. Do you get smashing glasses outside?
Yeah, occasionally.
We get normally because they have some type of taste, but it's very it's not really as you know, Prabhupada describes, not really giving them complete satisfaction where they come away from it being peaceful. That's what happens when we hear and chant about Krishna, especially when we chant the holy name. We become peaceful. And even if we still got material desires, at least we've accepted that principle. Then we can kind of put them on hold and hear and chant about Krishna. Then we'll get the qualification and the determination to actually become more regulated in our personal lives. Yeah, normally in London you hear the glasses smashed, then you hear the girls screaming because their boyfriends are attacking someone. Anyway, let's keep on the subject here. So, Nivrittita se free from material desires. So Prabhupada's mentioning that Srimad Bhagavatam must be done by persons completely free of material desires. So Prabhupada's given quite a high expectation, like that. So at least I would say, at least someone is following the principles of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Then one's going to be attracted. Any questions or comments as we go, please feel free to ask. Yeah. Okay. Yes. He mentions beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant is full of material desires for sense enjoyment, and everyone is busy in sense gratification. Yeah. Even the ants are after sense gratification, trying to find a bit of sugar. In one sense, that's what people are doing, isn't it? They think they're so elevated, think they're so advanced, but they're just like little ants or insects trying to find some sugar or something. Sometimes they have that. In central London, there's thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people on Oxford Street shopping. Sometimes I see like they're all like swarms of ants just going all over the shops, all over, to try and find something. And it's Prabhupada is saying here, it's the same as the insects crawling to find some sense gratification. So down to the insignificant ant is full of material desires for sense enjoyment. And everyone is busy in sense gratification. But when thus engaged, one cannot fully understand the value of Krishna Katha, even in the form of Bhagavad Gita or in Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada continues, if we hear the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from liberated persons, this hearing will certainly free us from the bondage of material activities. But hearing Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by a professional reciter cannot actually help us achieve liberation. Yeah, this is Bhagavata Saptaha. So persons who have no really interest in Krishna consciousness, they do it as like a public performance. Normally do it for a week. Also, Vaishnavas also do Bhagavat Saptaha. We have some of our what's his name? Some of our spiritual masters do that, Bhagavata Saptaha, but they do it in a very therapeutic, very nice way because they're following the principles of Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada doesn't mention it here, but when they do when these unscrupulous persons are not interested in Krishna consciousness, they normally will do the 10th canto and the chapters of Raslila. And they will do plays at the same time. There'll be songs, then they'll sing some songs about Radha Krishna's pastimes, and then they'll do some drama, there'll be some crying, and it's like that. Some artificial crying and such. Yes. Krishna Gatha is very simple. In Bhagavad Gita, it said that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As he himself explains, Mata Paratadam Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya. Oh Arjuna, there's no truth superior to me. Anyone know the whole verse? Mata Paratadam Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya. Mayam Savamidam Protom Shrota Gana Mana Iva. Is that right? I think so, yes. Everything, Arjuna, there's no truth superior to me. Everything, as pearls are strung on a thread, and then I maintain everything, just as pearls are strung on a thread. Something like that. Yeah. Oh, Arjuna, there's no truth superior to me. Simply by understanding this fact that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can become a liberated person. Do you understand Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead?
To some degree, yes.
You do, that makes you a liberated person. Huh?
Theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically, but also no, Prabhupada's been he's been very kind of charitable and generous. Yeah. Prabhupada would glorify little Saraswati, the daughter of Malati, is that right? Yeah. She would say to guests, Prabhupada would say, "Who is Krishna?" And she would say to them, "He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Very simple. Just hear from, and she would say it. You know. But compared to the everyday person on the street, the everyday person that you meet, you are liberated souls. Yeah? And you're liberated because you understand Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, there's different levels of liberation. Yeah. Different levels of being liberated from the bodily concept of life. But for all intents and purposes, is as Prabhupada is saying, simply by understanding this fact, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Well, Prabhupada says one can become a liberated person. So Prabhupada seems to be saying you can become. That's the first step. You accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then your path of liberation becomes opened. Once you accept this point. Is it in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita? Prabhupada says that even one should theoretically, in order for Bhagavad Gita to make sense, you should at least theoretically accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. Otherwise, it'd be difficult to understand. If you read a book by someone, like a mundane person, and they say, "From me comes everything. I am the source of all spiritual material worlds," and they're an ordinary person, you may think they've got some big problem. They got some delusions of grandeur. Delusions of grandeur. So, yeah, so it's theoretically accept Krishna. So one can become a liberated person. But especially in this age, because people are interested in hearing Bhagavad Gita from unscrupulous persons who depart from the simple presentation of Bhagavad Gita and distort it for their personal satisfaction, they fail to derive real benefit. Yeah. So Prabhupada named his Bhagavad Gita as it is. Yeah. As it is. There's one person who wrote Bhagavad Gita as it was. Yeah. And Srila Prabhupada, there was a few scholars and critics of Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. Yeah. There's one book that my spiritual master, Srila Ram Swami Maharaj, wrote many years ago. Another book, Bhaktivedanta Purports. You heard of him? Bhaktivedanta Purports. One of the first books he wrote. And this book is very wonderful because he's countering the criticisms of the scholars to Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, Sanskrit scholars, etc. You know, so for example, they criticize Prabhupada for explaining everything in terms ultimately of bhakti yoga. They see Bhagavad Gita, some people see it as an encyclopedia of different types of yoga. You've got karma yoga, you've got Astanga yoga, etc., Raja yoga. So they see it as, if you want to practice a particular type of yoga, you can go to this chapter. Yeah. But actually, as we understand, the Bhagavad Gita is a conversation that takes Arjuna through all the different types of yogas, but ultimately brings him to bhakti, and how only by bhakti can all those other systems of yoga be successful. So in that sense, Prabhupada puts Krishna everywhere in the Bhagavad Gita. Just in case we might lose the plot. If we're reading some chapters of Bhagavad Gita without a purport or explanation, then we might forget that Krishna is the goal. I'm sure perhaps we hear sometimes devotees, before they read Bhagavad Gita as it is, then they read a Bhagavad Gita, but they cannot understand it fully. I may have some appreciation, but I cannot fully understand. What to speak of actually become devotees of Krishna. Yeah. And so, yeah, so one of these scholars says that Swami Prabhupada seems to, although Bhagavad Gita it speaks all different types of yoga, somehow or another, Swami Prabhupada just sees Krishna everywhere. And Krishna is everywhere in the Bhagavad Gita, but they offer that as a criticism, you know. And certain words that Prabhupada will translate, Prabhupada's translation of certain Sanskrit words is not technically, in some places, the exact Sanskrit translation. So I can imagine these Sanskrit scholars, you know, these critical commentators of Bhagavad Gita, they think they want to translate it exactly what it's saying. But Prabhupada, sometimes he gives these devotional translations to some of the Sanskrit verses to keep the reader on the same path as what he's bringing Arjuna to come to the point of Sava Dhammam Pariyachacha. So Prabhupada will translate that to keep us on track so we don't get lost. You know, I think that the goal of life is to take up. Chapter 6 is Dhyana Yoga. And it describes some very intense practices. Although at the end verse, Yoginam Upashavesham Makatenda Atmana. So it's quite clear. But a lot of people will miss that. You know, so Prabhupada is saying here, but especially in this age, because people are interested in hearing Bhagavad Gita from unscrupulous persons who depart from the simple presentation of Bhagavad Gita, they distort it for their personal satisfaction. They fail to derive the real benefit. I mean, how many people have become devotees by reading Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita? Thousands, millions, perhaps now, hundreds of thousands. Yeah. That was the second book I read. The first book was The Science of Self-Realization. Yeah, I got it from a public library. I got it from a public library. I had someone now, but I won't tell my whole story how I joined. Just a little bit. I was hitchhiking in Europe. I wanted to find something else to what my life was. So I was hitchhiking around Europe and I liked it a lot. I got away from my friends. I got away from the drug taking. I got away from the degradation. And I was on my own, you know, and I started to find some type of peace of mind, some type of happiness away from the chaos of that. So I came back and it was really good. I thought, okay, where am I going to go next? I don't want to stay here in this town and just, you know, I've got to go out traveling. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go to India next. I'm going to hitchhike in India. That's my plan. I didn't make it to India, but I went to the library to read some books about India. Let me read it. So I got The Science of Self-Realization. That was the first book. And it was, I mean, I had some atheistic type of leanings, you know. I wasn't a very good atheist. I was trying to be an atheist. If that makes sense. Sometimes we get together with our friends, you know. We get a bit drunk and we start, you know, religion, trash religion and the Bible. Sometimes we even throw the Bible at each other. Quite. But when I get back to my own place, I would apologize just in case God does exist.
I didn't mean it.
I didn't mean it. Just so I wasn't a very faithful atheist. You know. But anyway, point I'm coming to is that then I got Bhagavad Gita. I was mentioning this the other day. I got Bhagavad Gita. And I was reading through Bhagavad, it changed, especially when I got to chapter 16, the divine and demonic natures. It kind of, I could recognize the demonic tendencies in me that were there. And I could see very clearly that my friends, or thought of my friends, they were of the demonic nature. Yeah. So the first time, by reading Prabhupada's words, that's why it's so powerful. Prabhupada is Nivrittita Asaya. He is presenting it purely. That's how you can hear the message if it's coming from someone who's pure. Yeah. So when Prabhupada made it, it became very clear for me. I didn't really know there was a distinction between divine and demonic. I never heard of the word divine, hardly, or demonic. You understand? I didn't understand there was these two paths. No, I didn't. He became clear. This is the divine nature. This is the demonic, and I put myself, and I could see what category I was going in by force of circumstances, but I wanted to go in the divine direction. And by reading, I remember when I read, it took some time, but when I read Bhagavad Gita, I was reading it, anyway, I just backtrack a bit. When I read the Science of Self-Realization, I got a bit worried about it because it hit me so hard that I thought I might have to become a Hare Krishna. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to be a Hare Krishna. So I thought, this book's too much. Just don't read it. Okay, it was a good book, but no. It hit me so I was trying to forget it. I'm not going to be religious. Huh? I put it aside. Then I went to the library, as I said, and then I took that book back, and then I got another book out, and I saw Bhagavad Gita, and I got it back, and I was reading. It was only when I started reading it that I realized I picked up the book by the same author. I thought, oh no, oh no. Then I had to continue reading it, reading. And yeah, when I read Bhagavad Gita, everything, what I was pursuing all seemed quite futile, all seemed quite pathetic in compared to the message of Bhagavad Gita. Had my bed sit, I sort of in a bed sit, had my records, I used to play guitar like anything, some type of stupid dream as a teenager, I'm going to be a famous pop star or something. And I remember then, I would spend hours. I'm saying this because it highlights the purity of Nivritta Dasa. When the message comes from a pure source, it has its effect on the listeners. If it's not coming from a pure source, it doesn't have its effect. So these people doing this Bhagavata Saptaha, 7 days, they're speaking Krishna Katha. Nothing changes. The life of the persons don't change. They continue doing their nonsense. They're doing Bhagavata Saptaha. Then, they're eating all nonsense, smoking and everything. They're exactly the same material life. And they're being envious towards people, but they do Bhagavata Saptaha because people give donations. In India, people will come. They will come and they will give donations. So nothing changes. There might be some little grain of piety, perhaps, some little grain, but as far as one's life is changing, because the person speaking it, the person presenting it, is not Nivritti Dasa, and it's not going to have that effect on the people. But then Prabhupada's words had effect on me in his Bhagavad Gita as it is. And that guitar I was playing for hours every day, 4 or 5 hours a day. Mm-hmm. My hands were all kind of, and then I saw the guitar, and for me, with the message that came, it must have come from Krishna. It said, you want to dedicate your life to plucking bits of metal on a plank of wood. So that's all it is at the end of the day. There's so much glamour about it, but it's just some guy making noises. Okay, now some devotees make music using guitars. It's fine. And they join and they dovetail that. But for me, that wasn't for me. I had to completely drop it in Krishna. So I was playing for hours and hours, and practically speaking, if I remember rightly, from one day to the next, I didn't pick up the guitar again. It's pointless. What's the point of just making sounds on a piece of metal? Where the message of Bhagavad Gita is so profound that So Prabhupada, the potency it's coming from, and Prabhupada as well, and he's preaching as well. So potent, and those that came in touch with Prabhupada. There's this video which came up on my YouTube feed. Came up, and it was the devotees very early days, and there's a group of about 25, 30 devotees. All the senior Jayadvaita Swami, Giriraj, they're all there, but all about 20 years old, about 20, 21 years old. And they're on this chat show in America. There's about 30 devotees. And this chat show host is quite good. He's very respectable. And he's asking them questions about their life and what they're doing and what they follow, etc. But all of them, they're like shining. They're shining. They're so effulgent. And they're so attracted to Krishna. They're so attracted to Krishna. So much affection you can see amongst them. Why? Because of associating with Prabhupada. Yeah. So powerful that their lives completely transform and become completely attracted to Krishna because of Prabhupada's association. Yeah. Because of Prabhupada's nivrittata se, Prabhupada's purity. Yeah. So Prabhupada, what he's saying here is he means it. He's speaking quite strongly here. So he says, but especially, let me just get, especially in this age, because people are interested in hearing Bhagavad Gita from unscrupulous persons who depart from the simple presentation of Bhagavad Gita, for their own personal satisfaction, they fail to derive the real benefit. Yeah, then we want to. There are big scholars, politicians, philosophers, and scientists who speak of Bhagavad Gita in their own polluted way, and people in general hear from them being uninterested in hearing the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from a devotee. So they're hearing from big scholars and philosophers, etc., but they're uninterested in hearing from a devotee. Yeah. Yes, scholars, politicians. Prabhupada used to criticize one. He was a president of one time of India, Dr. Radhakrishna. Prabhupada used to use his Bhagavad Gita in the 26th Second Avenue. He would use his Bhagavad Gita for the translation. But Prabhupada would often, Prabhupada would often bring out that he gave the Savadamam Pariyachachamam Ekam Savadam Bhaja 1866, then the purport of that, according to Dr. Radhakrishna, is not to Krishna, you're probably familiar with this, that Krishna is asking that you surrender. It's to the Brahman, the oneness within Krishna. And this is a person who's given great respect. It's a person who's putting forward he's the president of India. Any questions as we go? Please feel free to ask or comments.
Just
Yes,
wondering when exactly he was the president of India.
When
was he the president of India?
I don't know.
Prime Minister.
Dr. Radhakrishna, look it up on chat.
Yeah.
Google, yeah. Was it in Prabhupada's time when he was preaching? Might well have been. Yeah. Yes.
I wanted to ask, it came up like towards the start of the class.
Yeah.
And you're talking about how like the insects are crawling around to get their little bits of sense gratification.
Yeah.
So what is it actually about like drinking or drugs or sex that like what's that taste there? What's actually the taste there that people are attracted to?
Well, it's they identify themselves completely with the gross and subtle body. Yeah. So then for existence or pleasure means to gratify these senses. Yeah. Gratify the senses of the material body. That is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Yeah. They have no higher concept or principles of life. So for them, that's perfection. If they can get stupefied through intoxication, they have nothing else higher. They have no depth. They have no depth. So for them, their sense of satisfaction is just that. It's just I was going to say, yeah, completely intoxicated.
Mm.
Or sex life, this sex life, sex life, and it's just what the animals are doing. That's the goal of life. Animals. So, I don't know if I answered your question. That's what they're. That's what they're. That's the goal of life. Yeah, I was going to say, it's amazing in the West, especially England, or most places, that it's considered culturally. You are glorified amongst your friends, is it? The more drunk you become, isn't it? It's such a crazy culture in the West. So India's catching. Prabhupada says India has fallen. It's official. India has fallen. Prabhupada said it. I'm sorry if you come from India. It has fallen.
Just fell last.
But there is a big difference still, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a big, massive difference. That's why when I go to Mayapur in India, it's so refreshing. There's no one hanging out or pubs getting drunk. You just don't see it, at least in Mayapur, you don't see it. I saw one where I was in Mayapur for about 5 months. I saw 2 drunk people in 5 months. Yeah. Of course, the villagers get drunk and things like that, sure, but I didn't see it. It wasn't like here in the pubs on Friday night, all hanging outside the pubs, and they think they're enjoying. They think they're enjoying, but you don't see. Yeah, so yeah, it becomes culturally glorified. That the more drunk you get, then you're glorified the next day. Oh, he was so drunk. You see what he did? So, innocent. So it's all. It sounds good.
We have a question on
Yes, please.
on Zoom. Don't know if it's Anaga or
Go ahead.
Madeira or Tiana, but go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Thank
So
you.
you come from India, so you probably. I'm just telling you about the culture of the West. Hope you're not shocked, but go on. Carry on.
We're born in London.
Okay, so that's so you know completely what I'm talking about. Sorry, carry
well,
on.
you spoke about the importance of Srila Prabhupada's purports. And twice in the last few weeks, I've had interaction with 2 separate people who claim to be Sanskrit scholars. One of them was, saying he doesn't like the Bhagavad Gita as it is because it has the purports. And one of them asked for a Srimad Bhagavatam without purports. So without coming across, like I know more than them, and I'm, better than them, how can I, what would you say to somebody like that when you're out, just, trying to promote Srila Prabhupada's books with the purports?
Yeah, well, you can explain. That's fine. That's very good. You're reading the Sanskrit verses, but Vedas traditionally and always, they cannot be learned like the textbooks in a medical school. But you have to learn from a guru. And that's the principle in all different sampradayas, Vaishnava and non-Vaishnava sampradayas, or different darshans on the Vedas. You have to go through guru. You have to have an explanation. Yeah. Because also the Vedas, the Vedas are so vast that some of what's written in the Vedas is not applicable according to time, place, and circumstance. So if you're just reading the verses and you're not hearing of its application according to who you are and the time and the circumstances, there's a good chance you're going to get it wrong. There's a good chance you're going to be very much confused if you don't understand how to apply it. And only the guru is going to tell you how to apply it. For example, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's which canto where it's been described about the principles of brahmacharya.
Seven.
Yeah, 7 canto. Yeah, the different explanation of different orders of life after the pastime of Prahlad Maharaj. Very wonderful part of the Bhagavatam. And it's going, if you want to be a brahmachari, you have to wear tree bark. You have to let your hair grow. While you're vanaprastha, you have to let your nails grow. You shouldn't wash. So they're going to try and take that literally. So you could say, okay, you study Sanskrit, but their verse is, okay, you study Sanskrit, but what does the Sanskrit verses say in the Bhagavad Gita? Is it tad vidi panipatena paripasena seva upadiskanti gyanam gyanam tattvadarshanaha? You have to go through a guru, Krishna says. I mean, he speaks the absolute truth and it's there in Bhagavad Gita, but then he says, you have to approach someone, you have to ask questions, you have to inquire. How does it apply? Time, place, and circumstance. That's one direction you can take it. In other words, that those verses you're learning or seeing, they direct you to take shelter of a guru. Why are you not doing it, sir? Yeah? Why are you not doing it? And then the conversation of a bona fide guru as well. Prabhupada would say bona fide. Does that help?
Yeah, that's perfect. In my mind, I was thinking, Srila Prabhupada was just an instrument, and actually he read his own books because he didn't see that he wrote the books. It was from Krishna. So, but then it's difficult to explain that to somebody. It can come across quite heavy to just say that. I like what you said.
Yeah. You could also try another angle. You could explain. I mean, I read Bhagavad Gita, but please at least give some time and read through Prabhupada's purports. And then you may find you'll be able to get a clearer picture of the Bhagavad Gita. Please, sir, don't be so proud. You might want to hear what a devotee of Krishna says about the verses of Bhagavad Gita. Depends on who you're speaking to, of course, if they're open to that.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If I'd have read Bhagavad Gita without Prabhupada's purports, I wouldn't have joined the temple, for sure. Anything else on those points? Yes.
Just going back to that point of the sort of degradation that we see in the West, especially amongst the average person. Now, how would you advise to preach to those who are sort of slightly quote unquote above that? In other words, okay, they have responsible jobs. They may not get absolutely
Smashed every night.
Yeah, absolutely smashed every night. They have like stable relationships, etc. So like the reason I'm asking, because I work a corporate job and a lot of people
Professional.
Yeah.
Okay,
So a lot of people who are there, they are like that. They're not sort of your average Joe. And they have this well-being committee sort of thing, and they have various speakers, and all they talk about is this kind of like, they think they have something higher already. So they think, for example, that okay, you managed to overcome this obstacle, and so you can flourish and achieve success, etc. So these are a bit more quote unquote mode of goodness.
Yeah, thank you for also reminding me that not everyone's like that. Like youngsters, drugs and drink. There are people who have regulated lives. They take their duties to family responsible. They're very responsible for the children, etc. There are people like that. Thank Krishna for that. Then you can present. You do presentations as well?
I did one, but I was not satisfied because they couldn't hear.
Anyway, but that is the way that you're not going to present. You're not presenting something. I'm going to do a seminar. I'm going to present something to you that's going to change your life, that you're going to be convinced about. This is the best. No, you kind of present it Bhagavad Gita. Why don't we hear something from Bhagavad Gita? This is what Bhagavad Gita has to say. So you kind of join their ranks. You're one of them, and you're fascinated by Bhagavad Gita. You know, this is what Bhagavad Gita says. You know, here's this chapter. It describes this, and second chapter it describes how you're not the body, you're the soul. And then you could come across like that, not like you're trying to preach to them. That's the point. You're not trying to preach to them exactly. I mean, you are in one sense, but you're not trying to convert them to be what they see as Hindus or whatever. That might be. I mean, you did it once. You can just meditate on how you might do it again. You know, in a different type. You could just present one aspect of Bhagavad Gita, reincarnation. You know, and what Bhagavad Gita says about it. You can get some also stories, some contemporary stories about reincarnation. They're all out there. You know, YouTube's full of all these stories. But that might be one way, is not to go against them, trying to convert them, but just expose them to the teachings in Gita. You know, especially if they got somewhat regulation in their lives, they've got some, you know, it's good. There's a chance they can hear. You know, so keep trying. Underwriters are very successful in India. They do professional to these big companies.
Yeah. I think it's important as well not to elevate these people in your mind beyond the level that they're actually at, because you'll miss the target there. They're on Pranamoi. If you're elevating them in your mind that they're these great people who are doing so many things right, you're going to forget where they're actually at. That's important.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, like they may be regulated, you know, good family. Then
what are they doing behind closed doors?
Yeah, but then
think nobody's watching.
Yeah, but then when it comes to dinner time, they get a fork. They stab in a piece of steak.
Mhm.
Nice wine. We're hitting them harder here, but yeah, it's a good point. That point as well. So
The fact that success drives them, that's actually more of passion, not goodness. There's maybe some goodness here and there thrown in, but they are more of passion. So you speak to them on that language. You know, they are.
yeah,
It's an art. Prabhupada says in one of the first canto purports that is only really devotees can do that who has realization, you know, who actually realize the message, because then they can present it according to the audience. And so, yeah, you have to be realized. And then you will be able to read your audience and use the right words that they use and give it to them how they can take it.
yeah, it's good because also what's happening, there's a, what's it called? People going even one direction or the other. Because of the fallen state and the degradation that society is going in on a gross level, those with a more divine nature, even though they may be innocently following the other nature, they're wanting to go towards sattvic principles, isn't it? They're wanting to better their lives, and there's a lot of people going in that direction. So juxtapose going one way or going the other. So this is the chance that we have to introduce some aspects of Krishna consciousness, but it's called bridge preaching. And there's lots of devotees have different ideas about it, but we do have to create bridges, but not the bridge that takes you can't come back. I don't know if I answered your question. Yeah? Okay. Read a bit more. Anything?
Yeah, we can go through till 9:30.
Oh no, yes, 9 o'clock. Yeah,
But
sorry.
That's almost street time. This is half an hour, just half an hour extra.
Yeah.
but when you finish, but we can go through till 9:30. That we have to go through.
Yeah, so just highlighting here, Prabhupada trying to bring out Prabhupada's making this point. I mean, the verse is here. Nivrittita se, glorification of Krishna is performed in Parampara system. that's actually when it works. It's conveyed from spiritual master to a disciple. And let's continue. Yeah, so a devotee is one who has no other motive for reciting Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. What's the motive? No other motive than to serve the Lord. Yeah. You're not trying to do it to gain adoration or to be seen as a big scholar, for example, just as a service to the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has therefore advised us to hear the glories of the Lord from a realized person. Bhagavat Parodiya Bhagavat Shtane. Yes. Unless one is personally a realized soul in the science of Krishna consciousness, a neophyte should not approach him to hear about the Lord, for it is strictly forbidden. Right. Quite intense. Unless one is personally a realized soul in the science of Krishna consciousness, a neophyte should not approach him to hear about the Lord, for this is strictly forbidden by Sanatana Goswami. He quotes the Padma Purana. A Vaishnava Mukodigiyanam Putam Hari Katamritam Shravanam Neva Katavyam So Pachishtan Yathapayaha. One should avoid hearing from a person who is not situated in Vaishnava behavior. A Vaishnava is Nivritti Trishna, that is, he has no material purpose, for his only purpose is to preach Krishna consciousness. So-called scholars, philosophers, and politicians exploit the importance of Bhagavad Gita by distorting its meaning for their own purposes. So they have a philosophy. So in order to attract people to their philosophy, they will give their own commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And they will twist its meaning. Like, was one meaning is that you should that the five Pandavas, they didn't actually live. It just presents the five life heirs. You heard that one? It's the five life heirs. It's all kind of, so what symbolism. Well, some people actually try and explain it like that. Yeah. That Krishna didn't exist. Or anyway, so by distorting its meaning for their own purposes. Therefore, this verse warns that Krishna Gatha should be recited by a person who is Nivritta Trishna. Sukadeva Goswami epitomizes the proper reciter of Srimad Bhagavatam, and Parikshit Maharaj, who purposely left his kingdom and family prior to meeting death, epitomizes the person fit to hear it. Okay? So you don't have to leave your kingdom and family to hear Bhagavad Gita, to hear, but the principles there of So Sukadeva Goswami epitomizes the proper reciter, and Parikshit Maharaj, who purposely left his kingdom and family prior to meeting death, epitomizes a person fit to hear it. A qualified reciter of Srimad Bhagavatam gives the right medicine, Bhavo Shadi, for the conditioned souls. Yeah. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore trying to train qualified preachers to recite Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita throughout the entire world, so that people in general, in all parts of the world, may take advantage of this movement and thus be relieved the free-from miseries of material existence. Oh, this is Prabhupada's mission, yeah? This is Prabhupada. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore trying to train qualified preachers to recite Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita for the entire world. And you're doing it in Folkestone. Yeah, for the entire world. So people in general, in all parts of the world, may take advantage. It's Prabhupada's compassion, yeah? Oh, so much compassion. It's what he wants, yeah? The instructions of, well, it's not his compassion, but it's the compassion of the parampara. Yeah? Parampara exists in order to in order to, out of compassion, to give and to spread Krishna consciousness. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita and the descriptions of Srimad Bhagavatam are so pleasing that almost anyone suffering from the threefold miseries of material existence will desire to hear the glories of the Lord from these books and thus benefit on the path of liberation. Prabhupada's words are so powerful. Anyone suffering from the threefold miseries of material existence. What's the threefold miseries? Threefold miseries of material existence. Adhyatmika, Adhibodhika, and Adhidevika. So Adhyatmika is miseries coming from our own self. It's some disease or some problem. The Adhidevika, miseries coming from. Take your pick. Volcanoes, tsunamis,
Drought.
Huh?
Drought.
Drought. There's a drought. It's a drought. Do you have a hosepipe ban here? Yeah.
I don't think we do.
No.
No, not in
Southern parts of
Yeah, so then we have and miseries from other people. Adi Devika, Adi Baltica.
It's the most common.
there.
So it's interesting how can hearing stop that? Okay, you got disease, disease, say cancer or whatever, or just old age in general. How can the hearing about Krishna stop that?
You get the understanding that you're not the body and that you transcend all that's going on in this material world.
Yeah,
Through hearing about Krishna.
just speaking from realization.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, how can Adi Baltica, when people in this world are treating you badly, or there's so many can be so difficult sometimes dealing with people, and isn't it the things that one person will do to another person out of envious, like then Adi Devika. So it's exactly as you said, because one is the joy that comes from Krishna consciousness when one applies oneself, the happiness and joy that one gets from it, it's so deep and it's so profound that the miseries of material existence, which we may be faced with, become quite insignificant. Padam, yatmipadam vatesham. One who's taking shelter of Krishna, then the miseries of material existence shrink. Because the joy is so deep, then the miseries of material existence seem quite external compared to the depth of your joy of coming in touch with Krishna. So it seems, but you can imagine persons who don't have that, they're just operating in a bodily concept of life. And the question you mentioned, just up in the body. Then that anxiety consumes the whole existence. Consumes the whole existence. If they're going through, there's one travel agent me and the Shingavati used when we booked for, going here and there, USA and things like that. And he's an Indian man, pious man, but he's not following Krishna consciousness, but he sends me pictures of Krishna. And he's going through a divorce at the moment. He was on the phone when he was in America, He's nearly on suicide. He's not really, I don't think he has committed suicide, but he's so stressed out. It must be a stressful situation to go through. I mean, I haven't experienced that. I won't experience that. But still, it's getting to him. His whole existence is being burned by what he's going through, And so people experience so much, and the anxiety that they go through isn't 24 hours a day. And then you get depression. Then people do all types of things to try and overcome this. Adi Baltica. But if someone's Krishna conscious, that simple thing of just learning to take shelter of Krishna, that simple thing, can give you some correct perspective. I mean, it's not easy. Even as devotees, we go through the ringer sometimes in difficult situations, and we have to really reflect and take back and take shelter of Krishna. You know? Ultimately, Krishna's the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. It makes it all seem very insignificant. So the miseries still come knocking at your door. It's not as if when we hear Bhagavad Gita, we're not going to get old. We're going to get old, you know. But there's that verse that describes also, but for one who hears the glories of the Lord, for every day this rising and setting of the sun, it decreases the life of everyone, except one who is hearing and chanting about the glories of the Lord. Yeah. Then they're becoming invigorated internally, becoming spiritually invigorated, where they're experiencing experience of eternity. So that's what yes. Let's read that again. The Krishna conscious movement is therefore trying to train qualified preachers to recite Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita throughout the entire world, so that people in general in all parts of the world may take advantage of this movement and be relieved of the threefold miseries of material existence. You could put that advertisement on the front. Be free from the threefold, we don't understand what it is, but be free from the threefold miseries of material existence. It doesn't happen straight away. You have to apply yourself. And in Nectar Devotion, it describes that one's life becomes auspicious. One of the first symptoms of taking up bhakti. Yeah. But really, it's when one becomes steady in the practice of Krishna consciousness that one's life starts to become auspicious. You know? Starts to feel like you're going in the right direction. You know? That was one of my experiences when I was, before I took up Krishna consciousness. I could feel myself going down. I could feel I was going down. My life was becoming inauspicious. I had that much sense to identify it, that I'm going in the wrong direction. You know? But I didn't know what to do to go in the right direction. But then I read Bhagavad Gita, as I said. So devotee's life, although we may go through ups and downs, ultimately we're on the auspicious path. And devotee's life is auspicious. You know? So, yes. The instructions of Bhagavad Gita and the descriptions of Srimad Bhagavatam are so pleasing that almost anyone suffering from repeating this again, from the threefold miseries of material existence will desire to hear the glories of the Lord from these books and thus benefit on the path of liberation. Two classes of men, however, will never be interested in hearing the message of Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who are determined to commit suicide, and those who are determined to kill cows and other animals for the satisfaction of their own tongues. There's because I read this purport this morning, I thought, wow, amazing. Amazing. Yeah, it was like, so what is Prabhupada? I think Prabhupada here, he says, those who are determined to commit suicide. I don't think, what do you think? I don't think it's literally meaning those that are standing on the edge of Dover's cliff. It's meaning those who are not going to want to hear Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. They're committing suicide. What do you think? Is that?
People were determined to go on the wrong way. Like
So,
you said that you feel yourself going down.
Yeah.
But you're determined to do it no matter what.
Yeah, so it could suggest, yeah, so those are determined to commit suicide, and those determined to kill cows and other animals for the satisfaction of their own tongues. Right, so just by assisting, killing cows and other animals, then that attraction will not come. Although such persons may make a show of sorry, I keep remembering these stories. Last night when I was at Radhaman's place, as you do when I stay at someone's place, I look at the books on the shelves. And there's a book by, you know that book by Jayadev? He wrote
It's the new one. I've not seen it.
Yeah, it's a new one. It's fascinating stories he tells. It's an easy read as well. It's really interesting, really good to read. But I remember Jayadev one time telling us he had a Namahata like this in Romford for many years. He made a lot of devotees through the Namahata in Romford. It's in Essex, and he was no. Then he opened they opened a bakery. There's two persons became very big. They became devotees, and they ran a bakery. They run a bakery in the town. They own a bakery shop, and then they became devotees by Jayadev's preaching. So Jayadev wanted to know how they could preach. Where he said, "Well, you can everything you bake, you can offer it to Krishna." So that's what they were doing. They were offering everything to Krishna. Unbeknownst to the people buying the bread and the stuff like that. And Jayadev tells it funny. So how there was two ladies were in there, and I was conversing with each other. This was in East London. So, do you know what? Since I've been coming here, I've gone off my meat. I don't know why. I've gone off my meat. So they, by eating Prashadam, they lost the attraction to eating meat. And they didn't even notice Prashadam. If they knew, perhaps they get even more benefit. So there is a hope even for those who are eating meat. If they eat some Prashadam, they get a higher taste, and then they may decide to give it up, like that. Yeah, yes. Although such persons may make a show of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam at Bhagavata Saptaha, this is but another creation of the karmis, who cannot derive any benefit from such a performance. The word Pashognat is important in this connection. Pashogna means the butcher. Persons fond of performing ritualistic ceremonies for elevation to the higher planetary systems must offer sacrifices, yagnas, by killing animals. Lord Buddhadev therefore rejected the authority of the Vedas because his mission was to stop animal sacrifices, which are recommended in the Vedic ceremonies. Even though animal sacrifices are sanctioned in Vedic ceremonies, men who kill animals for such ceremonies are considered butchers. So even though they're doing it according to Vedic directions, from a Vaishnava perspective, then they're considered to be butchers. I mean, yeah, so it is horrific what goes on in some parts of the world. They have festivals where they kill cows. That's their festival. In India, in some place in India, these are the Muslim place, I think. They put, and one can detail, we get there, they gather all the cows, and then all the young men and they go in and they spend hours anyway, Hare Krishna. Yeah. It's horrific. Butchers, killing animals for such ceremonies are considered butchers. Butchers cannot be interested in Krishna consciousness, for they are already materially allured. Their only interest lies in developing comforts for the body. Then he quotes Bhagavad Gita 2:44. In the minds of those who are attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination of devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So that's the job we got in preaching, isn't it? Because we're giving books out, and we're trying to attract people who are attracted to sense enjoyment to one degree or another, and material opulence, and they are bewildered by these things. Yeah. So that's where we come in to try and cross that, to try and make that connection with people, whereas us engage. We may have some resolution in determination for Krishna consciousness, but most people not, because of these reasons, you know. So therefore we stop and we try and befriend them, you know, we meet them, try and make some connection and then give them a book. Yeah. Then Prabhupada quotes Norton Das Thakur. Manasa Janma Paya Radha Krishna Na Bhajiya Janiya Shunya Vishakaino. Anyone who is not interested in Krishna consciousness and who therefore does not engage in the service of the Lord is also Pashogna, for he's willingly drinking poison. So Norton Das Thakur, he's singing this out of he's singing this in his mood of humility. You know. My Lord, I wasted my life. Why have I wasted my life? I've just been drinking poison. I haven't drank the nectar of Krishna consciousness. You know. Such a person cannot be interested in Krishna Katha because he still has a desire for material sense gratification. He is not Nivritti Trishna. So it's considered an offense, isn't it, to maintain material attachments, even after standing so many instructions on this matter. Yeah, so again and again we hear in Srimad Bhagavatam, isn't it, about the futility of material life, you know. Something's supposed to happen. we're supposed to let go. We're supposed to turn away from it. At least the residue memory may be there, but at least we desire to turn away from it and go to Krishna Yeah, kind of let that go, you know. Then eventually that residue will actually go. But if we keep on feeding it, then it won't go, you know. If we keep on going back to where we was before, you know, to like when we are maintaining, yeah. So it comes to the point where it's offensive, you know, and it's an offense to the holy name, you know. So it comes to the point where we should willingly turn away from attachment to a sense gratification. Of course, sometimes things happen in devotees' life for like one reason or another, and they may fall down from the principles. But if they're sincere, if they're sincere and they not justify it, you know, they're not if they start, oh yeah, but the reason because of this and that. If they're sincere, then will come back again, you know. Does it make sense? Yeah. So if they're sincere, if they don't. Yeah. And sometimes I see it where some devotees may go away for a number of years, you know, and they come back, you know, and they don't justify their I'm such a nonsense. I got bewildered by the material energy, and they come back, you know. But yeah, unless both, you know, where was it now? Yes. Yeah. For Krishna Katha, topics about Krishna consciousness, that there must be a speaker and a hearer, both of whom can be interested in Krishna consciousness if they are no longer interested in immaterial topics. How we will do with that one? I get sidetracked sometimes, I have to admit, by the stupid news. Actually, someone or you know. We have to have some idea what's going on in the world, but we should be careful that we don't get too, you know, with the commentary on the news. We have to, because in one sense it is glorification of the material world. You know, we want to fill our time with Krishna consciousness. You know, so so Prabhupada says here, no longer interested in material topics. We're not interested who's going to win the World Cup. No interest. We're not interested. It's quite funny. I stay in a block of flats in central London. It's one of our ashrams. It's council block of flats. So it's some of the flats are a bit rough, you know. And whenever there's football going on, and no sleep, you know, they're screaming at the top of their lungs, you know, screaming, you know, and then it happened before they were screaming and screaming, then all of a sudden it all went quiet. I thought, okay, England must have lost.
Yeah.
Hey, bold.
Sure enough, England lost. So I'm reflecting, I mean, I used to be a fanatic about football before I joined Krishna consciousness. I was in the school team, I was in the county team, I was in the local team. I was like fanatic. For me to miss the World Cup, no way. And all my friends, even the whole family, would all be gathered around every World Cup, glued. It was like a religious activity, But I couldn't give a damn about it, And that's so. Again, it highlights. I used an example of people really much how, because of identifying with a particular country, they take on certain emotions, but it's all illusory because the body is just temporary. So someone's identifying with a particular country, so much strong emotions just because they belong to that country. And someone like they're being euphoria. Can you admit how much emotions people get into materially? They're euphoric. But then when they lose, they get completely miserable.
Yeah.
So to that degree, I almost actually I laughed when I heard England lost. I was laughing like anything. But great, in a sense that because they were so, it was proving the point. They were so euphoric, but to that exact degree, they will be miserable when they lose. And it gets worse. People, as you know, anyway, people, because one country and another, they will actually kill each other. Going off the point here. But yeah, let's just finish this paragraph here. This is yes. Krishna can see they are no longer interested in material topics. One can actually see how this attitude automatically develops in persons who are Krishna conscious. Although the devotees of the Krishna conscious movement are quite young men, they no longer read materialistic newspapers, magazines, and so on, nor do they go on YouTube. Doesn't say that. Nowadays, you can go on YouTube and do magazines and things like that. So, or whatever. For they're no longer on the internet. They're no longer interested in such topics. Yeah, there's so many wonderful topics about Krishna we can go on, is it, on the internet? Can watch classes throughout the whole world, from any part of the world. Yesterday I listened to a class by Bhakti Vigan Maharaj, wonderful class he gave, speaking about the pastime of Krishna stealing the garments of the gopis. He's analyzing it in a wonderful way. So for example, we use it for Krishna consciousness. Yeah. They're no longer interested in such topics. Nivritti tasher. They completely give up the bodily understanding of life. The topics concerning Uttama Sloka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master speaks and the disciple hears with attention. Yeah. Unless both of them are free from material desires, they cannot be interested in topics of Krishna consciousness. The spiritual master and disciple do not need to understand anything more than Krishna, because simply by understanding Krishna and talking about Krishna, one becomes a perfectly learned person. Yasmin vignate savam evam vignatam bhavati. The Lord sits within everyone's heart, and by the grace of the Lord, the devotees receive instructions directly from the Supreme Person of Godhead Himself. Then, which verse does he quote? Instructions from the Supreme Person of Godhead Himself. 15. Yeah. Sarvasya chaham vriddhi sanavishto matasmiti ganam bhavanam cha vedascha aham evavejo vedanti krit veda chaham. I am situated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. But all the Vedas are to be known. Indeed, are the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Hare Krishna. So we'll stop there. Is there any questions, comments?
If there's any devotees on Zoom that would like to ask a question or share a realization, then please do the usual and raise a hand. Other than that,
Golden
is
Hand.
there anything more from the room?
Because we were discussing as we was going along, so.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
okay.
Anybody
Thank you,
else?
everyone.
I
Pay
think
attention.
that I was just reading because one of the philosopher that appreciates Bhagavad Gita is Emerson, and so I don't know anything about him, so I just looked at, I think it was Wikipedia, you know, who is this person that he glorifies Bhagavad Gita, and not only Bhagavad Gita but Bhagavatam as well, which I didn't know. And he said about the Bhagavatam that this is a book that you read on your knees.
You should read on your knees.
Yeah. Not that the book is on your knees.
Yeah.
Because first I was like on your knees, and then I realized like in this prayer position, and I thought, wow, that's nice. And basically he refers to an attitude that
It's got here with attention, hearing.
that humility, that submission, and you with the understanding that I'm hearing a topic that is so divine that I have to drop on my knees. It was really nice, actually.
Yeah, nice. Try and picture how much attention Maharaj Parikshit, the sages, were to Sukadeva Goswami. Wrapped in attention, hearing his every word, Yeah, so Emerson, he was one. He was heard described one of the first transcendentalists, the early transcendentalists, someone who was interested in the Upanishads and the Vedas. Ralph Emerson.
Ralph Waldo
Emerson.
Damn.
Okay, thank you everyone. Motto E14.
All right, so thank you all for joining us.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you especially Murli Manohara Prabhu. That was only a taster because Murli Prabhu will be back with us this afternoon. He'll be giving the Sunday feast talk this afternoon. And Murli Prabhu has been a devotee since 1990. So that's 36 years now.
Wow.
So coming from the same generation as our dear Radha and Anne, so a wealth of experience. So do not miss this afternoon. Usual schedule, 3:15 for the Parinam and 4 p.m. for the start of the program. So miss it at your peril. Thank you for joining us. I look forward to seeing you later. Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam, ki jai. Srila Prabhupada, ki jai. Srimati Tulsi Devi, ki jai. Shishi Pramadna Singha, ki jai. Shishi Nitagora Sanda, ki jai. Vaishnav Sangha, Vaishnav Seva, ki jai. Nitai Gauda, Premananda. Hare Krishna, say the same.